What's going on, friends? It's Anton Daniels, and I gotta have a conversation with you guys about Tiege Hanley because you see how the sun is hitting me. This is no finesse, no makeup, no filters, no none of that. This is 100% Tiege Hanley. I use it in the morning as soon as I get up, right after I pray and brush my teeth, jump in the shower, and I'm hitting the streets because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So even though they're giving you 40% off your first order, 20% off for life, even though you may get a free gift, forget all that, right? Because we would do this even if it was full price because it's worth that much. I'm in the streets, I'm kicking it with people, and I see Dusties everywhere. You don't want to be them. You want to separate yourself. And the way that you separate yourself is self-care. Ladies get it for the fellas. Fellas don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. I'm about to hit the streets right now, and I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling great. I mean, I already got confidence, but to have that extra boost of confidence, knowing that you've taken care of yourself and you set yourself apart from all of the rest of the sheep that's walking around making bad decisions on a daily basis. And it's reflected in their actions. It's reflected in the products that they use. It's reflected in the people that they follow. And so if you're trying to level up, if you're trying to make sure that you look good, they're going to send you the pack. They're going to give you all of the instructions on how you're supposed to use it. Then make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. Again, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. Get your free gift. Make sure you tap in with your boy Anton Daniels because Unc is never going to lead you wrong. I would never have you use a product that I don't use myself. Again, they've been rocking with me for a long time. Make sure you get your Tiege Hanley. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I am your host, Anton Daniels. It is Wednesday, December 18th, 2024, year of our Lord. Can we get a round of applause for the people that's in the building? What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? I appreciate everybody for tuning in to After Hours last night. It was an absolutely phenomenal pod. We getting better. We getting better, baby. We getting better. I think I got the right combination of people for that platform. But as soon as I get the right combination, I'm looking to expand. So we got some great things coming on. Less than 2 weeks before we back in the studio. Less than 2 weeks before we back in the studio. So shout out to everybody that's in the building. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. We got Trump getting in office in January. New studio, new opportunities, walking away from corporate America again. Yeah, man, I got a great show lined up for y'all today. It's great. It's great. I want to get into leadership today. All right, I want to get into leadership and layoffs, the two L's. We don't want to take too many L's. Leadership and layoffs. All right. I don't want to get too far into it. We got some news that we got to break through. We got some conversations that we need to have. And we got some, hopefully, some entertainment and some insight that we can bring into this conversation that'll add value into y'all lives also. But I just want to say, first of all, again, I thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for everybody that continues to hold me down and add value. So, housekeeping. First things first. I definitely want to let y'all know that the Bag Chasers will be live streaming probably about an hour after this live stream ends. Okay, so I don't think that this is going to be a real long live stream. It's going to be either between an hour and a half and 2 hours, somewhere in there. The Millionaire Morning Show, and then I have to finish my presentation for you guys because I got the whole spreadsheet, and I got everything laid out beautifully for you guys, pictures, all of that, so that we can go through and I can answer all of y'all questions and I can give y'all a detailed look of what it took to build the first rental property from scratch. All right, from inception, dirt, silt fences, excavation, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, permits, purchasing of the property, how much I purchased the property for, how much the permits were for, pros, cons, things I would do differently, how I can save myself about $120,000 on the next property that I'm building, what I would do differently, falls, mistakes, contractors, appliances, cabinetry, flooring, carpentry, every single thing that I know that I've learned from actually deep diving into it and doing it myself. All right. So if you are in the Bag Chasers and you want to know every single thing that I know from a real estate perspective. I know we got Stock Club. I know we also, go through and I give y'all all of this insight on lifestyle and how you can plan differently, interviewing. I do mastermind sessions. I got a new budget video. I actually pivoted from that and said that I was going to do not just a budgeting video, but I was going to do an expert level budgeting video that people that are super successful, what they use. I got that. I'm going to do a live stream on that. And then we do the real estate aspect of things. So the real estate aspect of things is where we basically go down and I break down every single aspect of real estate, from taxes to the different ways you can make money in real estate. Now we're going through in Block Club. We call it Block Club, where I'm basically breaking down the ways that what I've learned from buying building properties versus buying them turnkey, why I rent them out, will I sell them, what the long-term strategy is, right? So you're getting it from a person that actually does it in real time. We don't pretend, we don't do REITs. We're not, out here just talking about it. We not faking the funk. We actually got real receipts. We really do build these properties in real time. And we put our money where our mouth is. And we don't even use any financing. So I will go over the financing aspect of it, why I decided not to finance building of the properties. Instead, I put my own money up. So I'll answer every single question. So I've allocated time this afternoon between 12:45 and 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to be live streaming, and I'm a live stream as long as it takes to answer all of y'all questions to give y'all insight. And then you can make your own informed decision on how you should do things differently, or if you want to take my advice or you want to modify it for whatever your strategy is. All of that. I'll answer every single one of y'all questions 100% transparent. All right. So that's coming up today, roughly an hour after we get off this live stream, so I can finish preparing that for you guys. And hopefully I continue to add value into your life, and I give you and I arm you with the information that's necessary for you to continue to build wealth within your own family and your own, your own environment, your own culture. All right. So definitely getting into that, deep diving into that. What else? I want to give a shout out to my dog, Mike That Dude. Shout out to Mike That Dude on Cash App. Shout out to you, big dog. Appreciate you. All right. So I do have a full show that's lined up for you guys. And somebody said, aren't I from Detroit? You can't say, isn't you from Detroit? Aren't you from Detroit? That's the proper way to communicate it. Yes, I am from Detroit, born and raised, still in Detroit and the Metro Detroit area. So I own multiple different properties all throughout Michigan. And I decided to stay in the city and continue to build my business here. So that's absolutely awesome. All right. Let me answer this super chat and then we'll go ahead and get started with the show. Titanius Angle Smith says, good morning, AD. I heard you say you were coming to Portland soon. Hopefully you will have time for a meet and greet. I would love to meet you and any other bag chasers out here in person. Figured it wouldn't hurt to ask. Let me see. I don't know the dates that I'm actually going to be out in Portland yet. I am going to be out there for business. Shortly after I leave Portland, I'm going to take a direct flight over to DC for the inauguration. So I will be in Portland, but I'm trying to figure out if I can get to Portland early. I got to figure it out if it makes sense on my schedule. I got to figure out if I can get to Portland early. I've never actually been to Portland. It's interesting to see if it's possible to even link up with y'all. So that is a great conversation. Let me figure that out by the weekend, and then I'll have that conversation with you. Thank you, Titanius. And then I got my resident, beautiful Camille Edwards says, hi, AD. Do you think platforms will let creatives or own more IP to keep them, or will creatives still need to build their own media distribution channels? I think that these platforms are the media distribution channels. You know what I'm saying? So I think you owning your IP, the true way, okay, so here's the thing. It's not necessarily about owning the IP about these social media platforms. I don't think that that's what the play is. They're not tripping about whether or not you own your IP or not. I think that they care more or less about the distribution and the partnership. So whatever it is that they do, I think that, for example, YouTube does not have to modify the way that they do business because they were very early to the game. So, for example, you may see something like Aiden Ross promoting Kick, or you'll see even a Rumble, right? I get contacted by Rumble every single day, it seems like, but I'm trying to reach out to give me a better streaming deal. and say, hey, if you upload to our platform or if you stream to our platform, we'll give you a better split. YouTube is not going to have to do that. YouTube is going to be more in the space of Netflix. If you've seen, like I've seen, what the updates to YouTube that are coming, they're going to be more like Netflix for creators. And it's going to be even more viable option, but the distribution is already there, right? So they don't have to make any adjustments to helping people to own their IP anymore or anything like that. You got to do your own paperwork. You got to take care of your own business. But I think that YouTube is more importantly a pioneer, so they know that everybody is trying to get to the platform. Other platforms are going to have to try to catch up, such as X, Rumble, and stuff like that. And so they're going to be able to get better deals. You'll probably be able to negotiate a little bit better than that. But when it comes to the king, and YouTube is the king, I don't necessarily care about Instagram. I don't really care about all of these other platforms because I always go where the money is, right? And the money is over here at YouTube. It's always been at the YouTube as far as long form content creation. I think that YouTube is not doing anything differently long term. I don't see that because they are already at the top of the totem pole. They don't have to recruit. They don't have to give any different deals in order to try to help people to build a platform or get people to come over to that particular platform or exclusively stream at that platform. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that people will need to build their own media distribution channels. I just think that they have to understand, in order to be a great content creator, in my opinion, you need to pick one, be really great at it, and dedicate yourself to that thing. Too many people try to be too many things on too many different platforms. You got to pick one, be really great at that, figure out how to get the most money out of it, and then be able to use all of the other distribution channels to leapfrog off of that. Instagram, for example, for me is extra for people that want to contact me that already find me on YouTube. TikTok, I'm on TikTok because people was already creating, they were creating accounts pretending like they was me, so I figured I need to get on the platform anyway. 2025 for me, I'm going to make a more forceful. I'm going to be more intentional about posting on other platforms, but only if I can see where the money is in it. I'm not just going to be posting just to post. So, I hope that answers your question. Shout out to you, Camille Edwards. I always like to see what your questions are because they add so much value into the community. Jerry in the building says, today is a good day to be a bag chaser. That is absolutely correct. I agree with you. Yep, I did answer that question. Fukari Ferry says, I'm having a total knee replacement. Pray for me. God bless Fukari Ferry. Bless the surgery to go well. Guide the surgeon's hands. Be with them. And bless her to be phenomenal results. Let me go ahead and hit y'all with a prayer so we can get started with the show. And then I'll continue to read Cash Apps and Super Chats as we navigate throughout the show. Lord, bless this show to be edifying. Bless it to be great for us. Word my mouth, guide my footsteps. Give me the things that I need to expound upon and add value into people's lives. Bless the Patreon live stream today for the Block Club members to be absolutely awesome and edifying for them, to give them all of the information they need to continue to build wealth. But more importantly, today in particular, I pray for me and my people to continue to build great character, for our character to keep us where our talent and our work ethic takes us so that we don't crash out. We know how to handle success. And more importantly, we never let anything get to our head, but we always go about doing it the right way with no shortcuts, never paying attention to what everybody else is doing, but always focus on the path that you're leading us down. I love you. I appreciate you. And we absolutely, positively pray for everything in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. All right, y'all. Y'all ready to get started with the show? Let me check something really quickly just to make sure that we all on the same page. I also want to give a shout out to my dog, ESDC. ESDC on Cash App. All right. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started with the show. Again, I do want to announce that starting in January, I want to have a more consistent time. And that time is going to be a little bit earlier. So it's going to be 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Mountain, and 6 a.m. Pacific. And then you adjust whatever your time zone is if you're outside of the country. All right? All right, y'all. Without further ado, we got to get to it. Ain't nothing to it but now y'all be nice to me today. Because I'm not trying to go off on nobody and derail the show because we got a time schedule to keep. I don't want to call nobody dusty. Ain't nobody trying to get off on y'all. I want to add value, get to these stories, and hopefully be entertaining, putting the medicine inside of the candy, and then I got to prepare for my Patreon live stream today, all right? So we ain't got time to be playing no games. Y'all better act like y'all got some sense today. No derailment. No millionaire derailment show today, all right? All right, y'all. Quick Hits. Quick Hits is a part of the show that we don't necessarily think that we need to dedicate an entire segment to, but we definitely want to keep y'all in the loop on what's going on in these streets. All right, first things first, a woman is recovering from being shot multiple times outside of a Metro Atlanta nightclub. Check it out.
Now at 5, an Atlanta woman recovering after she was shot 5 times. This all happening outside of a nightclub. Another woman in custody accused of the crime.
And Creona Merriweather spent almost a week in the hospital for her injuries. Atlanta News First Yasmina Alston is live at the Forest Park Police Department. So Yasmina, you spoke with the victim's mother who wants this violence to stop.
Yeah, that's right. This mother wants people, especially young people, to put down the guns. And she also wants establishments to be more aware of what's going on when it comes to safety and security.
I was probably like 15 feet behind them, and I heard the gunshot.
The most terrifying moments for Katrina Perry, realizing those bullets struck her daughter. Creona Merriweather was shot 5 times while walking up to King of Diamonds Atlanta nightclub to celebrate her birthday.
I just don't even understand how it even happened. When I looked up, this young lady was shooting and shooting and shooting my child.
Merriweather was hit in the arm, chest, and leg. One of her friends was also shot once.
I got to see about my baby, and I got to try to see about my baby friend. These are my babies. I've been had these kids since they was little kids. Like, they expect certain safety from me. They never had to feel unsafe while they were with me.
Turns out 25-year-old Merriweather knew the suspect, but the motive for the shooting remains unclear. Forest Park police say Jakia Ford was arrested, and Perry is now urging people to put the guns away.
The kids, the teenagers, they got all the guns, and nobody ain't teaching them that we are supposed to be a family and we supposed to stick together.
Perry claims the alleged shooter was waiting for her daughter at the Forest Park nightclub, so she also wants establishments to be more aware of what's happening on their properties.
I feel like it gotta be more done.
Meanwhile, Merriweather is at home recovering and told us she is doing okay via a quick video call.
I never thought something like that would happen to me.
Shout out to my bonnet queens. Shout out to my bonnet queens. Now, Anton from AntonDaniels.com is consistent in that I don't believe in people being shot and losing their life. But this sounds like it was personal. This sounds like daughter not telling mama what she was really into. If somebody was waiting for her at the spot in order to do something to her, and they shot her multiple different times and it was going in, they was going in. Sound like daughter was into something that she probably wasn't supposed to be into. Again, I'm never advocating for people to lose their life, but I'm going to advocate for you guys to probably stay out of the club, especially in Atlanta. And you don't have to worry about telling people to put down the guns. Ain't nobody putting down their guns. Ain't nobody going to listen to your message and say, oh, yeah, okay, you know what? Her mama said that we got to put down the guns, so I'm going to go ahead and have my come to Jesus moment. You better protect yourself. You better be careful of the spaces that you find yourself in. And don't get involved in this foolishness. I know y'all want to go to King of Diamonds. You want to be in the middle of it. You want to be in the mix instead of listening on after hours and live streaming and jumping on the live stream with us and having a conversation. You want to be in the mix. Well, guess what? That's what comes with it. Find yourself in a negative space, you're going to have some negative consequences. They're saying that a lot of these beachfront condos and hotels over in Miami is sinking. Check it out.
And developing now, sinking concerns across South Florida. A new study revealing that dozens of beachfront condos and hotels are sinking right into the ground at unexpected rates. Local 10's Leanne Woody-Holmes sat down with one of the study's authors and joins us live from Miami Beach with a closer look at this data. Leanne.
Yeah, he said some of the things that they found in this study were surprising, but we had questions because this, of course, affects thousands of people that live in these buildings and, of course, the folks that come and visit and stay at these beachside hotels. Should we be scared? Should we be worried?
I like you too, John. Shout out to you.
Who helped pen this study. Should residents who live in these buildings be concerned at this point?
No.
35 coastal buildings from Miami Beach to
He said no. Okay, listen, wait on it. Wait on it.
Sunny Isles are sinking. That's according to a study published Friday from researchers at the University of Miami.
I think what was a bit surprising in this study is of how consistent it was over a long distance of how the ground settled.
Dr. Gregor Eberle is one of the study's authors. He says this sinking, officially known as subsidence, is not unique to South Florida.
So for example, in New Orleans and Mexico City, or Venice is a classic example that the whole city sinks down. Compared to these examples, it's relatively small.
The study came about after the 2021 collapse of Champlain Tower South. And while they didn't find any subsidence there, they did find it elsewhere.
The building next to it, however, has a pretty high subsidence rate.
Researchers used satellite imagery to map down to the millimeter how much and how fast these buildings are sinking. They looked at satellite data from 2016 to 2023 and found subsidence ranging from 2 to 8 centimeters.
I was surprised that it happened at all because limestones like we have in Florida are very stable. The rates were not that great.
Dr. Eberle says sturdier limestone to the south of the research area does a better job at holding up those heavy buildings than softer ground to the north.
The sand portions will always compact a little bit over time. It's very slow motion and the structural integrity will not be changed by sinking it down a little bit.
So what Dr. Eberle says is that this study should spawn further study to continue to monitor this and also spin off into other forms of research into this. He also said that, again, there's no need for alarm. We also understand that some of the city leaders that were included in the study say that they're going to be looking at this. In fact, the mayor of Surfside says he wants to bring it up at the next commission meeting.
You ain't got to worry about it. Everybody that buys property in Florida, I also got a bridge to sell you. Everybody that builds homes and buys property in Florida, I have a bridge to sell you. If you are going down there in order to have a vacation or you looking to retire, just rent something. Honest to God. Just get your money up to the point to where you can rent something, enjoy it, be a snowbird, and come back home. If you are looking to make a real estate investment into Florida, especially South Florida, you are going to be highly disappointed in the future, I'm telling you. Part of it is if you build close to, you know what I'm saying, the water, there's other consequences that come along with it. The Florida real estate market is in turmoil. The Florida real estate market is in turmoil. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. That is a block club conversation, but I'm telling you, for the people that are building and buying and trying to have a long-term investment property in Florida, they're not going to tell you that everything is in turmoil because they don't want y'all to leave. They want to incentivize people to stay there. But it's a reason why all of the insurance companies are pulling out of Florida. Anyways, and then last but not least, something a little fun for y'all. Michael Jordan has finally sold his Highland Park home, his Chicago area home, for $9.5 million, substantially lower than what he listed it for over 9 years ago, but he finally got rid of it. Check it out.
It has become a popular tourist destination for those visiting Highland Park. Everyone needs a picture in front of the gate of the Michael Jordan house. Maggie Antolon is taking one for her father.
Oh, the reason why me and my dad have all these amazing memories is because he's the #1 Michael Jordan fan.
Although, as of this week, Michael Jordan is no longer the owner of this house. After more than 12 years on the market, the home finally has a new owner.
I don't think we've seen
12 years,
something where a home has been on the market owned by a celebrity for this kind of time.
Jordan first listed the 56,000 square foot home for sale in 2012, asking $29 million for the property, which includes a full-size basketball court, putting green, cigar room, workout room, as well as 9 bedrooms and 15 and a half bathrooms. After lowering the price a couple of times, in 2015, Jordan settled on a new asking price of $14.855 million. The digits added together equal Jordan's jersey number 23.
He had that asking price from 2015, $14.855 million, until yesterday when the sale closed. So 9 years, he didn't budge on his asking price at all.
The undisclosed buyer closed on the property for $9.5 million. Real estate columnist Bob Goldsboro says that despite Jordan's star power, the building has a 90s institutional look to it and has some other challenges for the seller.
The land is sort of landlocked behind some other houses, railroad tracks, and a nature preserve, so the land isn't easily developable.
The real estate agent who sold the house has not responded to our calls, so it's unclear what the buyer plans to do with this property, including whether they'll keep the iconic 23 on the front gate.
Yeah, Chicago area is not really a place where a lot of millionaires or billionaires are looking to move to. Secondly, nobody wants a home that you got to basically buy it for and then put just as much money into renovating it and making it modern. Number three, you know, the nostalgia wears off after a while. And okay, yeah, this is Jordan's former mansion, but the property taxes and everything else that comes along with it, and it's landlocked. And so I don't know. You know, I can see why it took over 12 years to sell the property and why it only sold for $9.5 million, which also tells you that just because you spend money on real estate does not necessarily mean that it's going to go up in value. Just because you buy real estate does not necessarily mean that it goes up in value. I have a real estate strategy where I like to stay firmly where solidly middle class people and the majority of the buyers are looking for that desirable sweet spot, price, location, all of that. We're going to talk about that this afternoon in Block Club of what my real estate strategy is as I continue to bring y'all along for the journey. But I have a specific space. And then more importantly, what the heck you going to do with 16 bedrooms and 19 bathrooms or something crazy like that? What you going to do with all of that space? You know what I'm saying? So I'm rethinking building a big house. Honest to goodness, I am rethinking building a big house. You got to look at your personality. You know what I'm saying? It's not about flaunting. It's not about flossing. I love where I stay, downtown, right in the thick of things, live, work, and play all in the same area while at the same time being able to come back out to the suburbs or whatever. So it's about comfort. It's about convenience. It's about safety. It's about being in the right pocket from a financial perspective. But ladies and gentlemen, that is your quick hits, all right? Let me read this super chat. Michael Johnson, close to Michael Jordan, says, imagine needing a study being surprised of the results from literally building your house on sand. Stay out of Florida, y'all, as far as making a real estate investment. Go visit. It's a phenomenal place to visit, but it's not that great of a place to invest in. That's just my own personal opinion. Y'all more than welcome to head down to Florida and do what you want to do. But that's you. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get started with the show. So we're going to start right at the top of the top. I want to start with Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. All right. So we all know that the budget was reached and they passed a roughly $17 billion budget over in Chicago yesterday. All right. Let me say that again. Roughly $17 billion budget over in Chicago. One of the problems was the initial budget, because it was voted down almost 4 times. The initial budget called for a $300 million increase in property taxes all across the board. Now, one of the things that Brandon Johnson was trying to do when he first got into office was he tried to take the Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden pitch and say, you know what? It's the rich. It's the rich people's fault. Even though they pay the majority of the taxes, even though they're the ones that invest in everything that happens in Chicago, it's the rich people's fault. He villainized rich people and he said that they need to pay their fair share. One thing that he wasn't counting on is the fact that people that have resources are much more easily able to move. They're much more easily able to relocate. They're much more easily able to, find a better space for them to live if the business environment, or you start to villainize them and say that it's not conducive for their lifestyle. Yeah, they can. Absolutely. But neither here nor there. He tried to pass a $300 million property tax increase onto the people. So you would ask yourself the question and you would say, well, why would he try to do that? Why would he try to raise property taxes? Because Chicago in fiscal year 2024, $250 million in a hole. Fiscal year upcoming 2025 is facing a $942 million deficit. $942 million budget deficit. And that largely is because A, they have not controlled their spending. B, they have not poured into the community that will allow for them to be able to generate more tax revenue from supporting businesses. And C, they decided that they wanted to support the migrant crisis. Now, nothing could be more in your face considering what happened in this previous election and that he was touting just a few months ago a new $100 million contract for a staffing company in order to continue to support the migrant crisis, even though they know that the voters largely across the entire nation is against it. And he was facing every single headwind. You got Chicago red, you got Chicago flips red. He goes viral every single day, almost to the point to where they have largely considered him across multiple media outlets, Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago, along with all of the aldermen, the worst mayor in any major city in the United States of America. Now, I think that could be accurate. There is nobody bringing more negative visibility to their city than Chicago's Brandon Johnson, a former social studies teacher. And the chaos continues. Fox News recently did a breakdown after this budget hearing and seeing everybody going off on Chicago. Every single city council meeting, this is what they came up with.
The Chicago City Council narrowly approving Mayor Brandon Johnson's 2025 budget, including a controversial $40 million short-term loan for a city already swimming in debt, all part of a chaotic meeting where residents slammed the mayor.
You caused all this money to go to illegal immigrants. Anything that you all pass is not genuine.
You have not protected the people of Chicago from invasion.
He wants to pour a $40 million line of credit and put the city in even more debt. It's your fault that because you gave half the money to illegals.
Imagine you saying that you have a balanced budget while taking out a $40 million. Oh. Imagine, okay, let's bring it back down to something that's a little bit more manageable, right? Imagine you and your household and combined, let's use the average household income, that's everybody inside of the house across the United States of America. And the average household income is somewhere between $67,000 and $72,000 a year. I think that that's going a little bit lower. We're going to get into the layoffs a little later on in the show. Imagine y'all combined, you make $42,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? She brings in an additional $28,000 a year. I think my mental math is correct. That'll give you about 70. And then y'all pay y'all taxes. And then after you doing your bills and you writing out all of your budget and you going through and you say, okay, so we got to pay this for the mortgage and we got to pay this for electric. We got to pay the property taxes. So that's going to go into escrow. Yeah. All right, babe. We balanced the budget. And she said, okay, honey, what we looking at? Well, guess what? We got to go take some payday loans out. High interest rate payday loans. The creditors are lowering our credit scores, so we probably going to have to take it out at a higher interest rate. We're going to refinance our cars. The car payment is going to be a little bit lower. However, the term is going to be longer. And she going to say, well, honey, listen, I'm not in charge of the budget because you the man and I'll let you do your thing. However, I got some concerns. And you say, well, what's going on, baby? And she said, well, listen, if we look at this budget, and we wind up paying more than triple what the car is worth because we refinance the loan just to have a lower payment, that doesn't actually help us. That put us in a worse position. But the budget is balanced. Now, she may roll with that. All right? She may see it through. if she can see some light at the end of the tunnel. Because you sometimes you got to take a step backwards in order to take 2 steps forward. She may see that. But then you throw a caveat on there, right? And you say, all right, but listen. I know that the budget is a little tight, but we going to get through it. She said, okay, baby, I'm with you. I believe in your vision. We going to get to it. We going to make it. I believe in your vision. We all in. I'm going to give you my paycheck. You give me your paycheck. We 100 in, no 50, 100. But then you say, but listen, my homeboy is coming to stay over though. And we gonna have to take it used to be the bedroom for the kid. We gonna make them get on bunk beds. They're gonna share a bedroom. And we gonna have my homeboy that just got out of prison. He gonna come and stay with us, and we gonna spend some extra money to make it homey for him. So we got to go buy some new furniture. We got to make sure that the bills is gonna be a little bit higher because we got more mouths to feed. We gonna pay for them to be able to eat with us at the dinner table every day. We gonna get them some new clothes. We got to make sure that they protected. And then the wife gonna say, "Hold on, wait. What do you mean? Your homeboy is getting out of prison?" Oh no, listen, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, they just gonna sleep in the side bed. But wait a minute, you telling me we gotta put our kids in the bunk beds? I mean, I was with you, but I didn't know that I was gonna have to give you my paycheck so we can make sure that they got furniture too. That's the equivalent of what they dealing with over in Chicago when it comes to people that are illegally coming into this country and then taking advantage of your tax dollars while at the same time you have to raise property taxes or your cost of living is going to go up while your quality of life goes down because the services is going to be dedicated to them, not be used for you. Is that a good analogy? I want to make sure that I break this down from a C student's perspective because if I just say, oh, well, you know what? They funded the migrant crisis and, they want to do a property tax increase and the millages and all of that. It don't really hit the same. But if I explain it to you a little bit differently and say, well, hold on, man is coming home from prison. He was your homeboy back in high school. And he said, I ain't got nowhere to go, so I'm going to come to your house. And he going to be standing around cooking food naked. And he going to be taking up all of the resources. He ain't going to get no job. And he going to be eating at the dinner table. And the kids is going to be on the bunk beds. And you got to pay for furniture and food and clothes for him like he a child. And no benefit that comes along with it. He might bust down your wife if you leave him home too long. It hit a little bit different, right? This is the equivalent of what we are dealing with in the United States of America if you have designated yourself as a sanctuary city. You have basically signed up for Melvin with no job to come and cook eggs. Some of y'all are familiar with Baby Boy. Some of y'all ain't from that generation, but you signed up for Melvin to turn around and say, you want some eggs? That's what Chicago is. Chicago is Baby Boy, and Melvin, except for Melvin, don't have no job, is cooking eggs in y'all city. And Mayor Brandon Johnson and all of y'all aldermen and J.B. Pritzker is over there basically sanctioning this. You want some eggs? Chicago, you want some eggs? And so now you can see why the people that are familiar and informed are saying, hey, listen, why are we still voting blue? Why are we not getting Melvin on up out of here? You do anything to my mama, cuz it's on everything. Melvin grabbed you by the neck. Jody. He told you if y'all was on lockdown, he'd make you fix it. If you was on lockdown, I'd make you fix it. Got the church helping them to buy y'all properties. Chicago steal it. They resell it. They sell it to migrants. The church is making sure that they buy y'all properties. They taking over your schools. Remove Shot Spotter. No police presence. Planned Parenthood pulled up to the Democratic National Convention and put the city of Chicago even in worse debt. And even while the Democratic National Convention was going on, they put all of the police presence there and the neighborhoods was left in chaos. And you see more shootings and things going wrong in Chicago And at the same time, they saying that they're going to fleece all of the business owners, including sports teams. That's going to basically drive revenue even further into the hole. This is Chicago. This is why you have to be informed as a voter so you can make a better decision so Melvin ain't cooking eggs in your crib. You go to work every day. You come the whole time you at work. You know what I'm saying? Your wife working a different shift than yours. She's supposed to be sleeping. She wake up. She smell. What is that? I'm not used to cooking in the daytime. She go downstairs and she see Melvin. Melvin got his schlong. And he cooking eggs. At first, she get offended. What is that? He keep eating all of your kids' fruit snacks. All of the fruit snacks is gone. Ain't no leftovers ever. Now you sitting there telling us, oh man, I don't like what's going on in the economy. It costs us more for food, gas, and groceries. No, it's because Melvin is staying there. That's the equivalent of a migrant crisis. Let's continue.
Chicago reporter William Kelly joins me now. William, you were inside that budget vote. How embarrassing was this for Mayor Brandon Johnson, even with the budget ultimately passing?
Even after it passed, nobody applauded, Todd.
I see you, Messi.
You know, as a lifelong Chicagoan, I love Chicago with all my heart. I'm not a Chicago basher, and I love those people. It brings tears to my eyes, Todd, who came to Chicago City Hall week after week. It took 4 times for this budget to finally pass. $17 billion.
Happy birthday,
These
Rosita.
real Chicagoans, they made their voices heard. They made it clear they don't trust Brandon Johnson, Mayor Johnson, with 50 cents. Okay, they know he's just going to spend that money on migrants and violent teenagers. Brandon Johnson says it himself, Todd.
You've been coming on this show for years.
D-Fam, I know you want my attention. I'm not going to give it to you today because I got a schedule to keep. D, I know you want my attention. I'm not going to give it to you today. Usually I address the Dusties, but I got a meeting that I got to prepare for. I can't get distracted today. I got to stay on point. I know y'all like bad little kids. You want me to pull you out and bring you to the front of the congregation and say, oh, man, you Dusty. I can't believe you. I'm not going to get distracted today. It's not going to be the Millionaire Distraction Show today. We're going to stay on point.
Your passion for the Windy City is definitely noted during each appearance. You mentioned the migrant. Brandon Johnson, under his tutelage, under his leadership, Chicago has spent $527 million taxpayer dollars on migrants. So my question for you, Will.
He ain't even been in office but a hot minute. He ain't even been in office but a hot minute. $527.5 million. And that's not truly really capturing the true cost of housing a migrant crisis. We're not talking about police presence. We're not talking about school resources. We're not talking about sanitation. We're not talking about transportation. We're not talking about infrastructure costs. The true costs, when you go to work every day, right? Let me break this down. And I want y'all to look at everything from a business perspective, all right? This is why it's called the Millionaire Morning Show. We got to bring it back to the money. Because we can look at it and say, okay, well, that's what they spent on paper. That's not the true cost of a migrant crisis. $527.5 million in less than a year. Since May 2000, less than a year and a half, less than 2 years, May 2023, they've spent almost $600 million on a migrant crisis. When you go to work every day, okay? When you go to work every day and you say, hey, man, you know, okay, let me rephrase it. I'll bring it back for you so you'll actually understand it. So D-Fam can stop feeling some type of way and I'm not paying them attention, all right? When you chilling and you chilling with a chick and y'all start to get into that conversation of, well, what do you do for a living? And she trying to figure out how much you make. She looking up your LinkedIn while you go to the bathroom and all of that, right? And you say, I make whatever, $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year, all right? That's not the true cost of compensation from your job, right? The true cost of an employee, and this is why y'all really need to start educating yourselves and becoming more informed, even from a business perspective, is not just based off of whatever it is that you make per hour or what your salary is. Payroll taxes cost, healthcare coverage costs, life insurance costs, you being able to be housed as an employee costs, relocation services costs, dental, eyes, children, all of that stuff. The true employee compensation package is much greater. If you ask your job, if you ask HR, hey, what is my total compensation for my, because that's not how much you make, it's not how much you take home. The total compensation is an all-encompassing, inclusive number that also take into consideration every single benefit that you use or don't use, tuition reimbursement, all of that stuff, travel costs, you going here, you going there. The cost of being able to have you as an employee is much, much higher than whatever your salary is or whatever it is that you're taking home, okay? And it's the same thing when it comes to the migrant crisis. It's not just the amount of money that they allocated out of the budget to say, this is what we spent on migrants. When you have to call police services out, when you got to call a firefighter, when you got to jail them and lock them up, when you have to send them before a judge, when you have to update infrastructure, when you have to start accommodating or hiring more employees in order to process these people, to run the shelters, to make costs or the interest payments that come along with buying property in order to have these people there. When you have to put them in schools and then they have to add more teachers or, they have to accommodate for more classroom space. All of the costs that's heating and cooling, everything. The total cost of a migrant crisis is probably more than double whatever the number is that they're telling you that they spent on it. And so when y'all looking at y'all $942 million budget deficit that y'all was facing in 2025 and they looking to raise prices and the cost of living on y'all, you are the ones that's the taxpayers that's paying for it. You the sucker. You the fool. And this is why the name of this show is called Failed Leadership. You failed. I'm not even talking about Brandon Johnson yet. You failed as Chicagoans to vote in and inform yourself the right people, because I will tell you, aside from Chicago flips red, aside from Chicago red, aside from the people that's out in the suburbs that was all red, that core inner city that keep Illinois blue, y'all the problem, because the leadership is a reflection of the voters. The leadership is a reflection of the people. Don't blame them, blame you. Don't blame them, blame you. Because every single person in Chicago that sit there and you can't get a good police response time, but you never showed up to the polls or informed yourself on who you should be voting for, and you deserve that. I want your money, but you get no representation. I never knew that, you can pay for something and don't get any services. And politics is one of the only places that you can do that. Politics is the only place where you can pay for a service and you don't even complain about whether or not it's good or not. You go into a restaurant, you go and spend your money, you're going to want something for free. You're going to eat the food and you're going to want it for free and you're going to want an apology or you're going to post a bad review. But you won't even show up to the mother effing polls to vote in the right leadership to ensure that the people is actually working for you. They told you to get the freak out and you paying their salary. How crazy is that? You pay for every last one of these aldermen's salary and you can't even get no representation. They don't even want to hear nothing that you talk about. They ain't listening to you. Politics is the only place where you can complain about a service, or you don't actually have to have good service because you've basically given them a blank check to kick you in your butt and pay for whatever it is that they want to pay for without any explanation whatsoever. Ain't that crazy? Failed leadership start with the people. You know how we look at these schools and we say, oh man, it's so messed up in there? It's the parents' fault. It's the parents' fault first. It's not the teacher. It's not the institution. It's not the supervisors. It's not the security. It's not the police officers. It's your fault. It starts at home. Everything that you see in these failed cities, it starts in the household. Let's get to it, y'all. We got to get there.
Would Mayor Johnson have had an easier time passing a budget if, he didn't spend so much money for illegal migrants at the expense of tax-paying city residents?
Well, that was almost to the penny the amount that Mayor Johnson wanted to raise property taxes on the real people of Chicago. Thankfully, I had the opportunity to call it out as a migrant tax, which motivated people to come to Chicago City Hall and literally shout at the mayor, which I guess is what was necessary. But yet Mayor Johnson still got the votes from his friends and allies in the Chicago City Council. The vice mayor, here's an example of where we're at in Chicago right now, okay, Todd? The vice mayor, a guy named Alderman Burnett, convicted of bank robbery, okay, of armed robbery, spent time in jail. He's a Chicago City alderman. He's getting paid, in addition to his aldermanic salary, for almost $500,000, okay, to be vice mayor, which essentially has absolutely no duties or responsibilities other than waiting to possibly become mayor if something were to happen to Mayor Johnson. So in Chicago, if you really, really, really want to rip off the people of Chicago, don't rob a bank, become an alderman.
Woo! Spit. Talk Will J. Kelly in the building. This is the same person that was approaching the mayor and approaching the mayor's office, and they was trying to kick him out. Talk about it. Talk about it. Listen, you won't have to go out and rob a bank. Y'all playing the game backwards. All of the criminals, y'all out here taking PPP loans, running schemes and scams, trying to finesse people out of a bag. You ain't got to do that. Just become a politician. Who gonna stop you? Who gonna stop you? Become a politician. Ain't nobody tripping about what's happening in Chicago. You don't have to go out and rob a bank. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to worry about putting if you a felon before you run in Chicago. You can rob a bank, literally, and then become the vice mayor of Chicago. Straight from prison into the politician seat.
That's wild. That is a wild story you just told us. The vote got so heated, the mayor basically cleared out the room, said he didn't want the citizens there. This is their city. They get an opportunity to weigh in on this, and the mayor said, get out. Has Chicago finally reached the tipping point that so many cities and towns, and quite frankly, the United States of America reached in November with the vote, that they're finally going to vote out the Mayor Johnsons, the Mayor Lightfoots, and bring some sanity back to Chicago?
Well, it's an old joke, Todd. Is Chicago ready for reform? And the fact is that it might just be, because we see this money going to migrants. I did some math myself, okay? Mayor Johnson has 100+ staffers. They're all making six figures. Many of them have become notorious as a result of, at William J. Kelly on X, videos where I literally have to chase them down the hallways of City Hall to talk to them. One of them in particular, Kennedy Barkley, is famous for saying F the pigs. Okay, this is what I guess her number one qualification for becoming a Mayor Johnson staffer. Okay, 100+ staffers, wow. Six figures apiece, adds up to millions upon millions of dollars out of the pockets of real Chicagoans. Yeah, I think it might be, Chicagoans might be ready for some real change, some real reform, Todd.
Yeah, and just
I don't think, listen, you don't need hardly any of those staffers. Hundreds of staffers for Chicago. Jesus Christ. It's amazing. It's amazing. What? Welcome to America, where you can come up and do whatever you want to do when you want to do it, and you can use taxpayer dollars as a result of it. All right. Let me read a few super chats, and then we're going to go ahead and continue on with the show. Alex, what up, Alex? What up, big dog? Says, what up, Unc? Let's not forget in 2008, Chicago sold all of their, yep, I remember that. They sold all of their, I think they don't even get it back to like 2075 or something like that. All of their parking meter revenue, $1 billion for 75 years. Money was recouped by 2023, 59 years left. That hurt, don't it? See, and they got to rent it back from the, Jesus Christ. Seeker of Truth says, I love my city, but you are right. He's the worst mayor we've had so far. Artifacts in the building said, I got the super sticker. Thank you to everybody that continue to support the platform. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. We got to continue on with the show. Fatir Woods, what up, Fatir, says, I just got into politics a year or so ago. I'm struggling to find objective resources on Pennsylvania and Philly politics. I don't even know when or where to vote and who is in what position. Where can I get the info? I'm assuming that you can get it online. I don't know anything about Philly politics either, my friend. So we would have to do a deep dive and do some research. I'm not sure. I'm sure if you dig far enough, you can find out what the heck is going on. Anyways, let's continue on with the show. I appreciate everybody continue to support the platform. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. We got Block Club this afternoon. I might have to move it back just slightly. I don't have a live stream tonight, but I might have to move it back just slightly this afternoon to make sure that I'm fully prepared to give y'all all of the information that y'all need. But in the meantime, let's revisit a conversation that we thought died. Remember when they was lying to us? Remember when they tried to gaslight us and say, you know what? Ain't no migrants taking over no apartments. Ain't nothing happening over here. Well, you know that a few weeks ago, I already reported that some of those very migrants that was shown in that video was arrested in New York doing other crimes. Remember how they was telling y'all that gangs is not really taking over in Colorado, in Denver, in Aurora? Well, guess what? They're still doing what they do. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. It's Rock.
Shocking story out of Aurora, Colorado, as police investigate what they call an evil and vicious kidnapping at an apartment complex. Yes, that apartment complex that has been terrorized by members of the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Police are not confirming if the suspects are part of that gang, but they say they are believed to be undocumented Venezuelans accused of tying up and beating two people last night, stabbing one of them and robbing the home. Senior correspondent Alicia Acuna has the whole story for us as she reports live from Denver. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Martha. The Aurora police chief says that the two victims, who are a man and a woman, are also Venezuelan migrants. And he says they were brave to call 911. The details of this crime are just horrific. Police detained up to 15 suspects believed to be Venezuelan migrants as well, who they say broke into an apartment, took the victims to another unit where they were bound, pistol whipped, and the male was stabbed. They were terrorized for more than 4 hours before the victims promised not to call police if released, and they were. And the victims did call authorities. Today, the police chief had strong words for the White House.
I had a discussion with an individual from the White House, and that occurred back on September the 23rd, I believe. And that person basically told me that, hey, once these immigrants get across the border, that's all we really care about.
Oh, now we want to have the conversation. Oh, wait a minute. Election is over, so we're going to let out the information. We're going to start having honest conversations because it's not like they're going to get back into the White House anyway. So let's just have some real conversations. People at the White House told them, listen, once they all get over the border, that's all we really care about. He's telling you directly now because back then they were silencing them and it was telling them that they not really eating dogs. They not terrorizing nothing. Ain't nothing popping off. Springfield, Aurora, all of these places. Listen, y'all, they capping. They lying. They exaggerating the situation. He's saying that before the election even happened, remember when they were standing outside this apartment building and the mayor of Aurora was sitting there saying, you know what, it's not really even that big of a deal and this is not happening. And the mayor of Denver, Mike Johnson, was saying, you know, that's not happening over here either. He said he called the White House and the White House said what?
And that occurred back on September the 23rd, I believe. And that person basically told me that, hey, once these immigrants get across the border, that's all we really care about. And to me, that's a problem. And so, Aurora, we are now in the process, as many other cities throughout this nation, of trying to pick up the pieces of an incredibly bad system that was in place.
This is the same complex, as you mentioned, Martha, where that Ring camera captured armed TDA members. The chief says there's no question last night's attack was committed by gang members, but can't yet confirm that these are TDA. Today, the Aurora City Councilwoman who sounded the alarm on this issue had this to say.
I'm tired of this situation being downplayed. I am tired of this being portrayed as just another gang in Aurora.
Y'all do know that Colorado was also a blue state too, right? We going blue state. Blue state, blue state, blue state. We going Chicago, Illinois. We going to go Aurora, Denver, Colorado. And we going to go New York right after this.
Aurora. This is actual human suffering of the most vulnerable community, the ones who would otherwise be afraid to call 911.
And Martha, those 2 victims are still in the hospital. Martha.
Let's take a little bit more deeper coverage to better understand exactly what they were hiding from us. Because they were saying that we was crazy and we didn't know what we didn't know.
And we are tracking breaking news this morning. 14 people detained at the edge of Lowry Apartments in Aurora early this morning. So that complex, of course, drawing national attention in recent months. Thanks for being here at 8 o'clock. I'm Andrea Henderson.
Hey, guys, I'm Kirk Yonke. Police responding to reports of a home invasion, a stabbing, and a potential kidnapping. So let's get over to Fox 31's Courtney Fromm. She's out there live at the scene. I know, Courtney, you've been trying to talk with police, get some more information. Obviously, you can see the scene as it develops behind you. And quite the response. Do we know why a SWAT vehicle is there?
Yeah, good morning to you both. We are still working to get all those details. I have been in contact with Aurora Police, specifically on why the SWAT vehicle is here, and then on top of all of that, to see if there's any sort of connection potentially to the Venezuelan gang situation that we've been talking about over the last few months. It has made the national spotlight as well, but you can see this scene still here. The edge at Lowry Apartments, really, really busy. Several Aurora police cars, that SWAT vehicle right off there in the distance. We saw ATF, that's alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. They're also on scene, and it looks like Aurora Police's command unit as well. Now, just a few minutes ago, when we checked in with you guys, the fire department was here and an ambulance was also on scene. They have since left, but they still have that portion of the road blocked off. That's here on Dallas between 12th and 13th. But let me give you guys a little breakdown of what's going on, what we know so far from APD. They say 14 people have been detained after officers responded to a report of a home invasion with weapons right here at the edge at Lowry Apartments. This all happening just before 2:30 this morning. Aurora PD says an armed home invasion involving a stabbing and a kidnapping, that all unfolding here. Now, early into the investigation, it suggests several suspects entered an apartment occupied by 2 people. The suspects then moved the victims to another property within the building where they were threatened and bound. So definitely some scary stuff here. Now, an adult man we do know has non-life-threatening injuries following a stab wound during the situation. And then later into the morning, the suspects actually released the victims. And from there, they were able to call 911. But 14 people detained and currently being questioned by investigators, but clearly a really, really large scene here. And like I said, I have been talking to APD. They are expecting to come out here in the next few hours or so and potentially give us an interview or talk to us and give us some more information that's going on. What are you saying, Anthony?
For the guy in that car.
Okay, and it looks like, according to my photographer who's able to zoom in, I'm not able to see as far down as him. They just put somebody in the back of one of the patrol cars right down here. So something we're going to be following. I know Kirk and Andrea, we talked about this just a few minutes ago when we checked in with you guys. We don't know if all 14 people detained were involved in that home invasion or into that apartment and grabbed those victims. We don't know how many people are going to be potentially arrested or charged with all this whole situation, but definitely something we'll be following throughout the morning. But if you're coming in this area, it's kind of interesting that, you know,
look at the windows. Remember when they was, you know, because there was people that was actually traveling to Denver and all of that stuff, and they were saying, you know what, everything is secure. We put a fence around it. Nothing is happening. We good now. Remember all of that? Remember when they said that everything was great and that we all good and the residents are safe now? Ain't a window that's available for you to be able to see out of in those joints. Every single window is boarded up, and I bet you it's still people in there. I bet you it's still being held down. I bet you it's still residents is taking refuge in there. Look at that. That is literally the hood. That is the ghetto. That is the Carter. That is the projects. Ain't nothing happening over there. Ain't nothing positive happening in those areas. And it's kids that walk every day up and down those streets in order to get to school.
All these police officers out here, the SWAT vehicle, but then there's families walking their kiddos with backpacks.
It's some of them that still got air conditioners outside. I remember I looked at a guy that was going through it, and he said it was rats and rodents and roaches and all of that. And it had gotten so bad because none of the gang members or none of the migrants would even allow for any maintenance workers or anybody. So they basically just took control of the whole thing. They shut it down just like New Jack City, and they made it their own. They made it their safe haven.
On and trying to get them to school, I imagine. Just a very, very active scene, and we'll keep you guys updated throughout the morning as more information becomes available. But for now, live, Aurora, Courtney from Fox 31.
Well, it is interesting. So we know this all started happening. Police first responded around 2:30 this morning.
Right.
So you think, 5.5, 6
Still
hours
taking people
later
into custody.
that they're still taking people in.
Right.
This is clearly a massive operation that they're kind of dealing with right now.
And I wonder if they're still, Courtney, it sounds like maybe trying to still figure out, all right, what happened here?
Yeah.
Who's involved? Who did what? Who's responsible? Et cetera, et cetera. And so many allegations about the Venezuelan gangs at those apartment buildings, and we haven't heard anything about that at this point from police, have we?
You're not going to hear anything from the police because what I believe is happening is that the authorities and the mayor, not so much the national authorities, but the authorities and the mayor is saying shh, shh, and for multiple reasons. Number one, mayor don't want to look bad. He want to keep his job. Number two, they don't want to continue to substantiate that they was actually wrong and to confirm what everybody was thinking in the first place. And number three, they are harboring criminals. Every last one of those people should be deported. No. We got to wait till they commit a crime. Like Eric Adams said. We going to get to Eric Adams. Let's talk about Eric Adams. Give me a second. Let me read a couple of these super chats and we're going to talk about Eric Adams. Shout out to Call Me Tazzy. Says, yo, that's my old apartment complex. And really, Tazzy? That's your old apartment? Oh, Tazzy. Thank God for growth. You know what I'm saying? Josh McLean says, off topic, paid off 14 bands of student loan payments just now. I'll give another update next December, God willing. Appreciate your time, dog. Keep inspiring chasers. Shout out to the bag chasers and the Patreon members. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's get into Eric Adams for a minute. So Eric Adams, EA Sports. EA Sports is out here in these streets, all right? And it seems like he can't get enough of these news conferences. And I suspect it's for a couple different reasons. In this particular interview, he interviewed with Bloomberg. And one of the things that he's talking about and communicating is about the migrant crisis, the immigrant crisis that's happening over in New York. His partnership, he goes into it a little bit more with Trump and Tom Homan. And then also on top of that, he talks about pardons. And so I want to deep dive into this a little bit because me personally, I'm still not fully convinced that Eric Adams has joined aboard the MAGA train. I'm not convinced. I believe that in order for Eric Adams to get a pardon, that he needs to go all aboard. Listen, you got to fully commit. You can't be one way in and halfway in and halfway out. That's the same thing that you're supposed to tell your girls. If you got a girl that's halfway in and halfway, if she not sure that she want to commit, you're going to have to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, listen, either you all the way in or you all the way out. I'm not dealing with no chicks that still want the availability of doing what they want to do when they want to do it. That means you're not mine. You for the streets. You're not mine. You. It's just my turn. You for everybody. I can't do nothing with somebody that's halfway in and halfway out. I can't hang out with people that, hang out with me and then they go and hang out with the ops. I can't commit to you if you're not committed to me. I can't give you a pardon if you still want to harbor fugitives and criminals in the name of sanctuary city status. You're going to have to either be all the way in or all the way out. The Lord said you can't be lukewarm. He spit you out of his mouth. That's what God said. You're going to have to be all the way in or all the way out. You can't, correct, the pillar of salt moment here. You can't be sitting here walking away and then turn around because you miss it. You're going to get turned into a pillar of salt. And I just believe that people like Eric Adams, and it's a lot of consumers, it's a lot of regular people that's trying to play on the fence too. They don't want to fully commit. I seen that with Stephen A. Smith. I did a review video of Stephen A. Smith yesterday, and Stephen A. Smith seems to be playing both sides. He want to say he a registered independent because he really voting Democrat, but he want to act like he really got conservative values. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'm not convinced. I think Eric Adams got railroaded. I think that Eric Adams tried to play the game along with the Biden administration. And once he realized that they wasn't going to reciprocate the level of help that he wanted to, that he flipped. Eric Adams may be worse than Brandon Johnson. Let's talk about it. Let's get into his interview, and I'm going to explain to you why Eric Adams, I'm split on this. Eric Adams might be worse than Brandon Johnson. I'm going to explain why shortly.
Want to start on the topic of immigration in particular. New York City is a sanctuary city. Does that get reversed anytime soon so the NYPD can help deport immigrants?
And it is so important. That term has been thrown around without any real understanding and meaning of it. The sanctuary part of it is to state to immigrants, undocumented and whomever, that utilize our services. Have your children educated in schools. Call law enforcement if you're a victim of a crime. You have a right for medical care. That is what we believe in. And what the problem was is that this was in place since Mayor Koch, Mayor Bloomberg. But the changes that were made under the previous administration that prevent law enforcement and any city agency for collaborating with ICE for deportation reason, I just don't believe that. Those who commit
He playing both sides, man. Listen to him.
serious violent crimes, we should collaborate with ICE to make sure they are not on our streets committing threats and dangers to migrants, asylum seekers, and everyday New Yorkers.
Okay, so Mayor, that's a yes to revamp the sanctuary laws, if I'm hearing that correctly. Now, you met with Trump's border czar last week, if I'm also remembering correctly. What have you both discussed? What is the roadmap going forward?
To collaboration. I've stated it from the beginning. I was talking about this even prior to the election. It's about public safety to me. And we're going to sit down with our team and his team and work out the plan of dealing with those who are dangerous and should not be in our city or country.
He not saying that I align with the Trump administration as far as making sure that illegal migrants that are over in here, because to be over here illegally is a crime in itself, but illegal migrants that are over into this country should not be here, and they got to go through the right way just like everybody else. He's not saying that. He's saying that, listen, you got to commit, not even just commit a crime. Listen to the words that is coming out of his mouth. You have to commit a violent crime. Keyword, violent crime, in order to be removed as far as him working with the border czar, Tom Homan, and the Trump administration to make sure that New York City is safe and that its citizens are not paying for people that is not supposed to be there. He's putting a caveat on it. It's not just, hey, you commit a crime or you do this or you do that. Hey, listen, use the city services, do what you got to do. You are entitled to that. That's what we believe in. The only thing that we don't agree with regard to sanctuary city status is if you commit a violent crime, then you should be deported. We want to work with the Trump administration on that. What? So you got to wait till somebody get killed, beat upside their head, raped, in order for them to get somebody out of there that ain't even supposed to be there in the first place? Got it. Let's continue.
When we talk about, though, the methods that will be used, there was a lot of hay, of course, made about your meeting last week with Tom Homan, the cooperation that you will have to have one way or another with the Trump administration. As you know, Mayor, a lot of the issues with the first Trump administration and the way that they dealt with undocumented immigrants wasn't so much the kicking them out, but it was a lot of the methods used to round them up here. Will you be cooperating on the roundup part of that?
Well, I think that the border czar would articulate exactly what their methodologies are and how they're going to operationalize what they want to do. In the city, we're clear. And I want to take all the anxiety away from our migrants, asylum seekers, and undocumented individuals. Continue use the service that your tax dollars are paying for. I am zeroing in on those who are committed repeated violent crimes. I said this over and over again, and let's be clear, the American public have communicated loudly and clearly. We have to fix our border. We have to keep dangerous people out of the country, and that is why they voted for this president to do so.
They certainly did, but according to a Siena poll, a lot of those people also voted not just to deal deal with the violent immigrants, but pretty much all. And some of that has to do with the
Thank
budget
you for
pressures
calling them
on
out
this
on his
city
board.
as a result of all those folks coming in. Almost $7 billion spent just since mid-2022 on shelters, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Let's back that up. Let's get that number again. I want y'all to realize and take into consideration what I've been saying about Chicago.
Budget pressures on this city as a result of all those folks coming in. Almost $7 billion spent just since mid-2022 on shelters. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of migrants still in this city using city services. Can New York City afford that?
No, they cannot. Like you indicated, $6.5 billion. You know what I could have done with $200 million of that? I could have gone after those chronically absent young people. Hundreds of millions of dollars we could put into our older adults. These were taxpayers' dollars that were used for a national problem. The White House only gave us roughly a little over $200 million as $6.5 billion. And we can't. Look at what's happening to Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, all of these big cities that had to take on this crisis. It was wrong, and we need to make sure that it doesn't continue to happen.
Did you have to take in all those migrants, Mr. Mayor? There was a lot of questions, particularly on some of those migrants being either bused here or shipped here rather than them coming here voluntarily. I mean, there were some mechanisms in place where you could have turned those folks around. Why didn't you?
No, and I'm so glad you said that, because that was one of the most misunderstood. People would stop me every day on the streets and say, wait a minute, what are you doing to us, Eric? I had no authorization to stop the buses from coming in that would violate federal law. I had no authorization not to give them a place to sleep, 3 meals, and the other amenities. That's against local laws. And I had no authorization to allow them to work. That would violate federal law. I couldn't even allow them to volunteer and give them a stipend to clean streets, remove graffiti, and other services. The federal government said, no, you cannot, Eric. So, no, we did not have any other choice. We were successful, though. Out of those 220,000, 170,000, we were able to.
Are y'all listening to the same thing that I'm listening to? I just want to make sure that we all on the same page here. Molly, I don't believe that there's too much government overreach. I think that that's BS. I 100% believe that that's BS. That is, listen. I never forgot. I never forgot Eric Adams sitting there at the bus station, clapping his hands and congratulating and shaking hands with migrants and saying that we love you guys and we can't wait for you guys to be here. We are a sanctuary city and we will house you. We will shelter you here in New York City. And the reason that they did it is because they thought that they were going to get reimbursed. They put the money up and they thought that they was going to get reimbursed while at the same time bolstering their voter ranks and increasing the ability for them to have migrants do jobs that they didn't think that was suitable or that people was taking. And so they were going to fill all of these jobs, increase the amount of money that they was getting from the federal government, while at the same time having more money circulate inside of the city and increase their voter ranks to reinforce their democratic ways and their liberal environment and having them keep them in office forever. If y'all don't think that this was a money play, this is why he played along. Never at any point in the beginning did he think that it was a problem for this to happen as long as he thought that he had federal government support. Not at one point did he think that it was a problem as long as they had federal government support. They were all in. And it wasn't until Congress wouldn't get him no money and the Biden administration left him hanging in Kamala Harris that they started to speak out, and then they became lepers, and that's when he started to get investigated. Then he wanted to say, you know what, this and that and so on and so forth. In the meantime, you know what he was doing? You know what I remember? Because I reported on it every single day. They were talking big stuff about Texas. They had basically pitted themselves against Texas. They never spoke against the border. They never spoke about closing off the borders. That's why Governor Wheelchair down there, that's my favorite governor, Governor Wheelchair down in Texas, Professor X, he said, all right, listen, y'all want to continue to advocate to keep the borders open. Y'all want to sue us. Y'all want to talk stuff up there in the north. Okay, y'all sanctuary cities. You want to designate yourself as a sanctuary city. You want to take advantage of migrants. I'm going to give you all that you can handle. because it's not fair for me to just have to suffer down here in Texas and for the people, the taxpayers to suffer down here in Texas. They went against Governor Wheelchair down there in Texas. See, this is why they don't want to give me my 30 to 40 million. Yeah. They don't want me to say Governor Wheelchair on the national networks. I'm going to say it. I like him. I think that Governor Wheelchair did a phenomenal job down there in Texas. Professor X was doing his thing. Professor X did his thing. That's a fact, though. And now they want to pivot because A, he want to pardon, and B, he want to go ahead and throw Biden under the bus because he wasn't able to keep his mouth shut. And let me tell you why Eric Adams is neck and neck. I can't say that he worse than Brandon Johnson because Brandon Johnson, he just flat out gonna stay evil. Let me tell you why Eric Adams is worse than Brandon Johnson. It's the same thing that comes along with Trump as far as why liberals don't necessarily like Trump. Is because it's one thing to finesse people. It's another thing to just tell them the truth and let them make a decision for themselves. Brandon Johnson in Chicago is no different, not even a little bit. He's no different than what he advertised himself to be, which is one of the reasons why I hold voters accountable for him maintaining power and even coming into power in Chicago. I don't feel sorry for Chicagoans because Brandon Johnson is exactly what he presented himself to be. He didn't lie to you. He may be trash, but he yo trash, and he never presented himself to be anything other than trash. He protested against police. He was with Black Lives Matters. He wanted to defund the police. He was he been trash the entire time. He always had his mohawk before he got into office. This ain't new. This is what he was. And I'd rather be able to get some insight on who you are and who you really, you know what I'm saying, make the decision for myself, even if I don't agree with you. Now, I just so happen to be aligned with all of the principles and the things that Trump stand for. But the one thing that people can't say is that he's not authentically who he is. And Eric Adams, in my opinion, is a chameleon. He is a chameleon. Y'all call him Hot Wheels down there? Okay, we'll go with Governor Hot Wheels. Shout out to Greg Abbott. Eric Adams is a chameleon. You don't know who you gonna get, what you gonna get, what he stand for, depending on who in power at the time. He just gonna move around in order to try to stay connected. He a chameleon. I don't like chameleons, man. I don't. You can't trust them. Even your adversaries. You know who you dealing with your adversaries. You know where you can and can't go. You know what neighborhoods to be able to go down. You know what, I'm gonna stay out of that. But see, you get caught up with people like Eric Adams. You trust him. Next thing you know, all of y'all getting raided. All of his aides is getting raided. I don't like him. I don't like the way that he move, and that bothers me. Now, Brandon Johnson is doing an exponentially worse job in Chicago. That's why I say they neck and neck. But I don't really like the way Eric Adams is moving. Tell me who you are and make a stand and pick a side.
To allow them to go on their next step of their journey. They're no longer in our care. They're no longer being paid for taxpayers' dollars because we took the right steps.
So let me just clarify for a second. So when we were talking about the New York City sanctuary laws, that would be for undocumented criminals, right? But then what about these people that we're talking about who are bussed in, who are still on a New York City payroll? What happens to them?
I didn't quite understand your question. You said the sanctuary law is for anyone that's in the city that's not documented, stating you have the right to use taxpayer services. When an undocumented person walks in the store and buy a loaf of bread, those taxes he's paying if he's documented or not. So you should have the right to use the services.
So what Eric Adams is saying is that whatever taxes, you know how you go to the register and you say, okay, it's a 6% sales tax, 7% sales tax. In Michigan, it's 6%. I know in Chicago, it'd be like 8% and stuff like that. When you go there and they say, okay, 6% sales tax, they paying a sales tax. That's what he's saying. Now, he's not talking about the free money that they get in order to go and spend the money on that. He's just saying that they're paying a sales tax. Okay.
That your tax dollars are paid for. What I am saying, those who are committing repeated violent acts, they should not be in our city to be released on our streets to continue to carry out those violent acts.
Sales tax doesn't cover infrastructure. Sales tax doesn't cover trash pickup. Sales tax doesn't cover police services. Sales tax doesn't cover schools. Property taxes cover...
It's longstanding New Yorkers and migrants and asylum seekers.
Yeah, I guess my question was distinguishing that versus like the families that I see in the subway who are undocumented but clearly not a harm to society. What are you going to do about them?
We want to give them the services they need.
But we can't afford it, right? But you just said we can't afford those things.
No, we want to give them the services they need and show them the next step on the American journey like other immigrants. Immigrants have come to this city for hundreds and hundreds of years. I don't care if it's the early Irish that built our subway system, the early Italians, the early Caribbeans. Immigrants have always come to this city, but they found their way. And that's what we did to 170,000 migrants and asylum seekers. The city cannot pick up that tab. We need to put them on a pathway to find their way to pursue the American dream.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I do have to ask you about the federal investigations and the indictment against you. First and foremost, do you plan to follow through on running for re-election?
Yes, I am. I made that clear over and over again. People stated, you know, Eric stepped down, those small number of people. I stepped up. Look at the numbers and what we've accomplished in the city.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't. I can't do it. This dude is a chameleon, and I don't even want to call him a chameleon because I genuinely want the best for New York City. You know, I grew up listening to Wu-Tang. Cream, get the money. Dollar, dollar bill, y'all. Cash rules everything around me. I grew up listening to that. I listen to Puff. Can't nobody hold me down. Oh, Lord, I got to keep it moving. I grew up on New York hip-hop. Wallabies and Timberlands. You know what I'm saying? Killer Bees in the building. DMX. LL Cool J. I grew up on New York music, so I want the best for New York City. It's literally the capital of the United States of America unofficially. You know what I'm saying? I want the best for New York City, but I cannot sit here and in good conscience see or think that this person actually has the best interest of the United States of America at hand. Not with the rhetoric. And then he want to sit there and smile talking about I'm running for New York City. New York. I'm going to hold y'all accountable. I'm going to hold y'all accountable. Y'all better get it right. Y'all better pay attention to what's happening. You better get it right. Midterms is coming up. Y'all better get it right. Let me continue to read the super chats. Messi, what up, Messi? Says currently watching Baby Boy for review. AR Smitty says E up there like whoopsies. AJY says let prison inmates do the jobs people don't want. I don't know what's going on out here. We need Trump in there ASAP. We need the inauguration to go up maybe a month ahead of time, be December 20th instead of January 20th. I'll be there. I'll be seeing what's happening. Anyways, I do want to address this one thing that happened the other day, all right? Did y'all see this on the news? They tried not to make it a big deal. I actually seen Kamala Harris speaking about it a little bit. But it was a mass shooting and in Wisconsin, and it wound up being a 15-year-old girl. Let's spend 10 minutes on this, and then we can continue to rock.
New tonight, investigators revealing the alleged shooter is a 15-year-old girl who was a student at Abundant Life Christian School. Police say she died by suicide after killing a classmate and a teacher. Tonight, the sobering details about who called 911 first.
A second grade student called 911 to report a shooting had occurred at school. We'll let that soak in for a minute.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We have a team of reporters spread out from Milwaukee to Madison, covering the story from different angles. Investigators just shared new information on the alleged shooter and the timeline of how this tragedy all unfolded. Jenna Ray leads our team coverage off. Jenna.
Shannon, minutes ago, we learned that the school shooter has been identified as 15-year-old Natalie Ruffnow, who also...
Oh, that's a white girl all day long. It's a white girl. I don't know any black Natalies.
goes by the name of Samantha. Police say that she did go to Abundant Life Christian School, and this morning she walked into that school with a handgun. Here are the details and the timeline police say unfolded. It started at 10:57 when a second grader made the call to 911 saying that they heard gunshots being fired inside the school. 3 minutes later, law enforcement officers.
Second grader. A second grader? All right, I'm confused, first of all. And I'm going to get to the rest of the story, but I am confused. So did the second grader have a cell phone? How old are you in the second grade? Somebody tell me how old you are in the second grade. I remember being in the second grade. I remember I had some Jodeci boots, I think. I was concerned about Jodeci boots. I wanted to make sure I had the proper pair because, if you came with the imitation joints, you was going to get teased. I remember camp library. I remember Miss Brunner. Shout out to Miss Brunner. I don't know what happened to you, but shout out to Miss Brunner. You was a cool chick. Second grade? Do they have cell phones in the second grade? I don't think my daughter had a cell phone. 7 or 8 years old? Nah, no way. My daughter didn't have a cell phone in the second grade. No way. No way. That's pretty early. That's crazy.
Officers were on scene. By 11:05, police say they found Rupp now dead with a self-inflicted gunshot wound and a handgun. At the same time, EMS and Madison Fire were also there and started treating students and staff and clearing the school. Police say the shooting happened inside a classroom that was in a study hall period with students in all different grades. A teenage student and a teacher were killed. 6 others were injured. 2 students are still in critical condition tonight.
That's a mass shooting. I don't know what people. It was somebody in the chat earlier that said 2 people is not a mass shooting. Yeah, it is. I believe it was 2 people that passed away so far. 6, 7 people were shot, and it was a suicide. I think that's a mass shooting. That would qualify.
1 teacher and 3 students have non-life-threatening.
Second grade teacher called? Okay, so a second grade teacher called. Thank y'all for updating me on that. They said a second grader. Okay, second grade teacher. Got it. Thank y'all.
Issues, injuries.
This has been a rough day for our city. This has been a sad day. This is going to be a day that will be etched in the collective minds and memories of all those from Madison.
Police and school leaders tonight are urging parents to talk to their students. Given the fact a second grader was the one who called 911, police say it's important to talk to your kids when and how to call 911 and ask for help when it's needed. They're also urging people in the community to reach out for help if you need it. Local resources are available, and if you're battling a mental health crisis and need immediate help, you can call 988. Police say they will give their next update tomorrow at 1 p.m. TMJ4 will be there. I'm live in Madison.
Let me see if I can get some a little bit more insight, some more recent stuff about this. Give me a second.
Evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Tiege Hanley, and tonight the Madison, Wisconsin community is in mourning after a teacher and student were killed in a shooting at a Christian school. Police say the shooter also died. Let's get straight over to Jeff Harris at the live desk, and police just shared an update. Jeff, what are you learning?
Some new information just into the live desk, Dee. We've now learned that the suspected shooter is 15-year-old Samantha Rupp, now who you see right here on the left-hand portion of your screen. A teacher and a student are now dead. 6 others were hurt. Police say she planned the attack in advance. Police are now combing through her family's home, already confirming they found a manifesto planning this crime. Police say a handgun was used in this shooting. A second-grade student was the first to call 911. Within minutes, police arrived and found the suspect dead with a self-inflicted.
So they still was saying that it's a second-grade student. I'm not seeing anything that says that it was a second-grade teacher that called. I'm hearing that it was a student.
A gunshot wound. Now police are trying to trace that handgun.
I was getting ready for lunch, so it was basically lunchtime. And then I just heard sodding, and there was a teacher, and she was screaming like, "Ah, my leg, help, help."
Do you know that teacher well?
Mm-hmm.
What was it like to hear that? Were you scared?
I was really scared and I was really sad.
Not the SpongeBob ice cream in order to get her to talk. That's pretty insane. Let me see something.
As a Wisconsin community mourns the lives lost in a deadly school shooting yesterday, authorities are still working to figure out why it happened. Today, they gave a brief update on their investigation, including their search for a motive. ABC's Jacqueline Lee is in Madison now with the latest.
A memorial of flowers and candles honoring the victims of the shooting at Abundant Life Christian School. A teacher and a student were killed Monday when police say a 15-year-old girl opened fire with a handgun in a classroom during study hall. Neighbors say this photo, posted on social media in 2023, shows the suspect, police identified as Natalie Rupnow, who went by Samantha. Police say she died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
It's crazy.
It appears that the motive was a combination of factors. Again, we cannot share that information at this time.
Give me the information.
We do not want to jeopardize the investigation.
Investigators are looking into social media accounts believed to be the shooters, showing signs of a gravitation towards potential neo-Nazi violence and engagement in forums venerating mass shooters.
There are always signs of a school shooting before it occurred. Some of you have reached out about Rupnow's social media activity prior to yesterday's shooting. We're looking into her online activity.
They searched her home and are now talking to her parents. The second grader says she was changing her shoes when the gunfire started and had to leave them behind.
I just heard
All right, we heard that. So it is a second grader that actually called the police. All right, so that's why I have to use multiple sources to better understand what the heck is going on.
On the Facebook page of the shooter's father, right here, there is a banner photo that was dated last August. And according to comments on the page, it is his teenage daughter, Natalie Rupnow, with a long gun, skeet shooting. This and numerous other social media posts and pictures are among the possible red flags being investigated tonight by police and federal law enforcement.
There are always signs of a school shooting before it occurred. Some of you have reached out about Rupnow's social media activity prior to yesterday's shooting. We're looking into her online activity.
Yellow crime scene tape that seems to stretch across America tonight remains in place here at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin. In the minutes before the shootings, multiple social media posts from an account believed to be hers. This one, 15 minutes before the shooting started, showing a hand gesture that has been used by white supremacist mass shooters. Investigators tonight focusing on clues from the home where the 15-year-old shooter lived with her father. The front door ripped off by police evidence teams. Local police have now turned over the teen's electronic equipment to FBI techs, looking for a motive and whether friends or family members had knowledge that there was an attack plot or had been warned
Look like a
that
little boy,
violence
to
was
be
to
honest
happen
with you.
yesterday. While she is seen with a long gun at this shooting club near Madison, it was a 9mm pistol that police say she used in the rampage on her new school. Investigators say they want an inventory of all the guns she had access to.
If she made overt actions and overt statements that she wants to kill and they didn't do it, that should be considered too.
Police tonight say they have not been able to verify that a 6-page declaration posted on the internet with the shooter's name on it was actually written by her. If this Google Drive linking to the pronouncement does turn out to be her suicide note, the declaration lays out numerous possible personal motives and attempted explanations for the authorities to investigate. The picture of the shooter at that gun range shows her wearing a black T-shirt that has the logo of a German band, which was a favorite of one of the Columbine high school killers. They murdered 13 people in that 1990.
I'll stay on top of it. I'll try to figure out what's going on. I have been paying attention to this a few days ago, but I was, as usual, trying to wait for as much information as possible so I can make a more informed decision and a responsible conversation about it could be had. But as of right now, what they are confirming is that it was a second grader that seems to have called 911, that the person did injure at least 6 other people, and including themselves, 3 people died at the scene. So prayers up for the family, prayers up for everybody over in Madison, Wisconsin. Also saying that it was a new school that the person went to. So I'm a reserve judgment and conversation. And one thing that I will say is it is very difficult and it's very interesting to see young people crashing out to this extent. But again, prayers up for the family. Let me read some of these super chats and then we'll continue on with the show. I want to share one more thing with you guys. Rush King 19 says, so if I go visit New York, go in a corner store and buy a soda and pay taxes on it, I get a free hotel room, free food, and health care? I guess. I don't know. That time might have passed now that Trump about to get in office, though. Night Jade says, my kid's school is getting metal detectors in January. You know what's so interesting about that, Night Jade? I remember when metal detectors were looked at as a bad thing if you had to get them in school. Like, metal detectors was only something that happened in the inner city schools that were a little bit more toxic and all of that stuff. Now we look and say, hey, we want metal detectors in our schools in order to ensure that kids are safe. Now, I will say this. I'm not saying no names, but I will say this. It didn't matter whether you got metal detectors or not inside of the schools, because they were sneaking them in through windows. They were sneaking them in through bathrooms. They were sneaking them in through security guards. They was getting them in after hours. So, they was, for example, I'll give you an example of how it used to play out inside of our schools. The weapons and the guns and stuff, obviously, because it was first floor windows, and so you can sneak them in through the first floor windows and stuff. But one of the ways that they got it was from extracurricular activities. So it wasn't as much security, or it wasn't as much checking. You can go in and out of certain doors and all of that stuff when you were there for like basketball practice later on or stuff like that. So when you was able to get in through extracurricular activities, you would sneak it in, and then it would just be inside of the school. You never actually brought it out. So I knew people, not me. I knew people who had pistols inside of their lockers. It just wasn't a thing. Or it wasn't their locker. You would have multiple different lockers, right? So you would have one on the 6th floor, because we had, 8 floors in our building. You had one on the 6th floor, you had one on the 3rd floor, and if you was really popping, you also had one on the 1st and the 2nd floor. And so you would have different lockers. Is one that was assigned to you, and then there would be other lockers that you would see would be vacant throughout the school year, and you would go and put a lock on it, and that way it wouldn't be attached to you. And so anytime that you wanted to go and get your pistol or whatever like that, you would go get your pistol out of that locker, but you just made sure that it was on the side that didn't have any cameras. So it was a whole lot of ways that, and this was back in the 90s, right? It was a whole lot of ways in which you was able to move around and get stuff done. But, metal detectors back then was looked at a little bit differently. We was looked at like the bad kids only got metal detectors in their schools. Her parents probably didn't have the gun secured. Probably not, especially if she was a person that was into guns. Biasy Ross says, glad they didn't treat that 2nd grader American and suspend her for using a phone at school. Normally you get punished for doing what's right. Yoshi 504 says, she was idolizing mass shooters. Please monitor your kids' online activities. Praising CEO slangs didn't help either. I'm watching everybody that praise CEO slangs. Inkster High was crazy. We had detectors for show, and it didn't stop nothing at all, Mr. Lie, at all. But anyways, make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. I wanted to get in one more thing. I'm actually going to push the live stream till about 1:30. So I'm going to push the live stream block club up to 1:30. If you don't catch the live stream, then it's cool. You could just restream it. I'm going to re-upload it and stuff like that. So I'm going to push it to 1:30 to make sure we got adequate time to be able to go over everything and get it popping, all right? One more thing that I wanted to go off. It is a trend that is happening across social media. A trend that is happening across social media as far as layoffs. Layoffs are a thing. It is something that you cannot ignore. A lot of people are trying to ignore it. But I see another trend that's still popping off. And I warned people about this earlier in the year and late last year. Stop recording yourself getting laid off. All you're doing is making yourself less attractive as a candidate for a new job, because every single person that I know, or every single manager that I know, go and check your social media before they start to have a conversation with you or before they hire you. So if they can find anything about you on social media and you sitting there recording yourself getting fired, or you sit there talking about, oh, I'm getting laid off and this is, I hate corporate America and all that stuff. Listen, it's great for content. I know that a lot of people is not going to stop doing it, but I will tell you that it is going to make you look stupid. It is going to make you look incredibly bad. But, it is what it is. People going to do what they do. There's nothing that I can do about that. I'm going to just take it as it goes, and we just going to keep on rocking out from there. But it's a lot of people that's going through layoffs right now. And I think that there's a transformation that's really about to happen. And so we're going to have a conversation about it. And I'm going to share with you some of these people that's saying that they're going to get laid off. Check it out.
I'm about to get laid off. My manager has to jump on a call right now. As long as I could be.
Hey, Fabio.
Hey, how's it
How you
going?
doing?
Good.
Good. I got some bad news. Unfortunately, you're being impacted by
Yeah.
that, and so today's your last day.
Oh, okay.
Sheesh. Hey, I ain't know that they, well, I guess they will be doing it. That ain't nothing new. I mean, for them to say, hey, man, listen, today is your last day. Wrap it up. Let's get to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Wrap it up, big dog.
Yeah. I know.
Cool.
All right. Well, I hope to talk to you soon.
All right, then. Sounds good. Yeah.
He
we'll
cut
do.
out a lot of the conversation.
Bye.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Hey, it was another girl that was on that call. She was like, bye. You know what that usually is. So when they fire you or when they lay you off, especially remote, because it's a little bit different doing it remote than it is doing it in person, they usually have the manager and the HR manager on there at the same time. So just to make sure, and then the HR manager go through and they start to give you all of whatever it is that's changing, your benefit package and stuff like that. So that's usually what happens, right? Let's continue.
So, I just got laid off. Am I happy from finally being relieved from abusive work environment? Yes. Am I happy that my Christmas shopping budget has been severely reduced? Also, I just realized that I shop way too much.
Oh, now you're having a revelation.
And we are officially ending 2024 with no job, no boyfriend, no husband, no kids. And also, I did not lose a single pound in 2024.
Sound like she had a rough year. So, winter is coming. This is one of the things that I want to tell y'all. Winter is coming, meaning that I know a lot of people said that they was independent. IEDEPENDENT. Do you know what I mean? I know a lot of y'all said that y'all independent. We gonna find out. We gonna find out. Because if you do not have a skill set, let me warn y'all, aside from all of the other jokes, right? If you don't have a skill set that makes you valuable and a value add to the company, you are going to be in trouble. Do you know what I did for a living? I know some people may be a little bit familiar, but do you know the details of what I did for a living? Do you know why when a department got sold that I got the offer to move over into a different department? Would you like to know why they looked at me as more valuable than everybody else? It wasn't just because I made a lot of money, or do you know why they paid me the big bucks? I'll explain it to you. I'll give you a little bit of insight before we go into this next person. The reason that they paid me the big bucks wasn't just for my tech expertise. It was because of my ability to save the company money. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean layoffs? No, that doesn't necessarily mean layoffs. It means that I added value into the company by forcing people to do things more efficiently by looking at it from a UX perspective. I'll give you an example, right? UX UI is basically designing the layout and the interactions that people every day use, whether it's internal or external. So when you say external, you'll say, okay, you pick up this phone, you open up an application, you want to pay your mortgage, you want to check your bank account, you want to open up a new account, you want to, start this or whatever, so on and so forth. I am the person that makes it very easy for you to do so. And then for you to go in and take care of whatever business and hopefully upsell you on more products and all of that. So I overseen the team that ultimately determined how that platform was going to operate. And then we would do any redesigns or upgrades or, any of that type of stuff, right? But here's the key. This is what really separated me from anybody else that carried my job description as far as this director level position, all right? This is the thing that separated me. I didn't look at it from the perspective of making it just great for the user. I looked at it for making it great for the company. I'll give you an example. One of the things that I would do is I would go through, and this is why I am getting calls today. I am getting calls every single day just from me saying that I'm no longer going to be in corporate America, from people that saying, hey man, can you come and check out my organization and see how we can make things more efficient? I'll give you an example. The first thing that I did when I first got to this position that I'm in, and after the 31st, I'll update my LinkedIn and tell y'all exactly where I worked and everything like that, because I ain't worried about getting doxxed anymore. One of the things I would do was that I would go through and walk every single floor, travel to every single location, satellite location. And I would go and I would understand the people and I would sit with them and see what they did. Everybody from project managers to upper management, all the way down to the call centers and the mailroom. And why did I do that? It's because I wanted to understand how the company ran. That way I could do my job more effectively. If the call center, for example, was having long wait times, then we need to implement Salesforce. Salesforce allowed for them to be able to go through and click things and also document exactly what the people were calling in that they were having a problem with. I can narrow it down, see it, and then pay attention to it. Okay, so I'm going to go in there, implement Salesforce into this particular division, but then on top of it, I'm going to put TVs everywhere. They say, Anton, why do you want TVs everywhere in the call center? Well, because I want to gamify everything. I've learned through playing video games early in my life that you are competitive when you see your name up on the screen and you see a ranking. So I want to make sure that we find out who the bad losers are and who the high performers are. That way we can get them out through natural attrition, negging them out, or just make them look bad or incentivize people to do any better. So I've incentivized it. And again, this is UX. It's not just the products that people are using. This is internal. So now I'm going to gamify what is going on by create a ranking system to see how well people are doing on the call center floor. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at everything that we doing as far as how calls are coming in to the call center in the first place. Okay, you know what? We don't just want to put the phone number right there directly on there for people to be able to call in. We want to take them through a step process. The step process is if you on an app and you look and you saying, you know what, I want to talk to a representative. I don't necessarily want you to go through a computer, but I do want you to self-satisfy or to self-solve for the problem. So what I'll do is I'll make you go through a process that says, well, you know what? Do you want to get a call back so we'll put you in a queue, or do you want to hold online? Most people, 98% of the time, are going to say, you know what? I want to put myself in a queue, and then you call me back when you got an agent available. Until then, I'm also going to give you a set of FAQs and implement artificial intelligence for you to be able to self-serve and solve for the problem. We learned through Salesforce, implementing Salesforce, that a lot of people were having problems resetting their password, or when we bought over a bunch of loans that integrated into our system, people wanted to have it, speak to somebody in order to be able to sign up and make sure that they're fully integrated so that they'll have their payment or whatever. Or this set of people, depending on at this time of the month, wanted to understand why their insurance and their escrow wasn't matching up with whatever it is that was being dispersed over into the city. So I was using data and information to then make a better decision on how we were going to design the systems to have the call logs easier and not have people necessarily having to be on the phone. But while you're waiting, you may self-serve and say, you know what? Oh, this is how I reset my password. Oh, this is where it is where I can change my address in order to be seasonal. Oh, this is how I can go about doing this, right? So I'm putting steps in place to make a better customer experience while also relieving the call center from stuff that we could solve for, because I'm using the data to draw my attention to certain things. That's what made me unique. That's what made me different. That's why I was going through. That's why they paid me the big bucks, is because the value add that I added to the company was in the millions. And that's why they gave me the big bonuses and the equity. That's why they stuck around. That's why they incentivized me to stay longer than I normally would. You understand what I'm saying? So all I'm telling you is that, and the point of this story is, there are people that are being paid to phase you out. If you think that companies are sitting around and they're saying, you know what? We want to pay you double, or we can't wait to pay you a living wage That's not what they're doing. They're trying to figure out how to run more efficiently, add customer service, and at the same time do more with less. That's why they invest in research and development. That's why they invest in people like me. That's why they invest in technology. When I go into a place, I don't go in and try to figure out how it is that I can sell you. If they bring me in, I'm interviewing the company, not the other way around. I'm going to come in and walk around. I'm not even going to the interview room. I'm going to go in and walk around and I'm going to observe. And I'm going to get there 2 hours early and I'm going to observe and I'm going to say, so this is what's happening. Okay. I see they going over there. By the time I come into the room, I'm asking them questions. If y'all have not watched Interview Like a King inside of the Patreon, you need to do so. If you have not watched the video called Interview Like a King inside of the Patreon, you need to do so. I am already looking at how it is that I can save the company money or increase efficiency. I've already studied your systems. I've looked at your external systems. I'm looking at your internal systems. I'm studying you. Every time that I talk to you, I study you. It's the same thing with relationships. When we have a conversation and you walk up to me, right? And I'm not talking about relationships like, oh man, lovey-dovey. I'm talking about any interaction that I have. Subconsciously, I've already analyzed you. I've looked at how you present yourself to me, how you communicate, whether you talk long, how your handshake is. I know everything about you. And so now I know how to be able to interact with you and create a better environment or sell you or help you to understand how we going to move a little bit differently and get you to do what I want you to do. I've looked at you. I looked at whether or not you was holding your girl's hand before she walked in. I seen her with an attitude because she didn't want to be there because she thought that I was toxic. And she probably the one that was telling her husband, don't watch him. So when you walked up, oh man, let me introduce, man, she be tripping. I'm already paying attention to everything that you do. I'ma move accordingly. I'll pay attention to every single thing that goes on around me. I could sell anything. I could sell anything to anybody at any time. There is nothing that anybody can do to tell me no. You will never tell me no. It's impossible for you to tell me no. I have not been in an interview in over 15 years where somebody said no to me or you're not the best person for it. You can't tell me no. You can't afford to not make me an offer. And you're going to make me a bigger offer than you thought that you was going to make me before I got there. You have to upgrade your skill set. You have to train yourself to think differently. You have to go back to school. You have to create a new network. You have to make yourself uncomfortable. You have to get into things that you normally wouldn't get into that would allow for you to make yourself more valuable in business, in corporate America, and whatever it is that you're dealing with. There is nothing that you can do that could ever stop me from doing what I want to do. The question before we get out of the interview isn't whether or not you're going to offer me the job. It's whether or not you can afford to have me there. Seriously. I don't look at you the same way that you look at me. I don't look at jobs the same way that y'all look at jobs. It's different for me. Let me play this next layoff video. Let me show you the difference between a person that operates highly effective and opportunistic versus a person that's waiting on something to happen to them.
Just found out I was laid off. And if you've been following me, you know that I work about 30 hours a week in insurance, plus I stay home with my kids full time, and I talk a lot about paying down debt on this page because we're trying to get caught up a little bit after some medical stuff happened, and I just feel like we cannot catch a freaking break. So the debt payoff stuff might be stalled for a bit while we figure out what we're gonna do. Normally I wouldn't feel too worried because I have the money coming in from TikTok, but honestly with the ban potentially happening in just a couple weeks, pretty stressed out about it. So if you don't already, if you could follow me on Instagram. I guess I'm also gonna start looking into YouTube. I'm trying to be optimistic because the other person in my office that was let go is on maternity leave currently. So it could be worse.
If you think you're going to go into content creation in order to supplement and make up for your job and your income, you got another thing coming. Content creation is a long-term play for a lot of people. They truly don't understand what it takes to be successful.
I got laid off today. It's 12 days before Christmas. Just got married a month ago, so I'm paying for a wedding. And TikTok is being banned in the month. I have so many questions, but I also am like so defeated, so I don't even.
Is TikTok being banned in a month, y'all? Hey, somebody fill me in the chat. Is TikTok being banned in a month? I just seen a post that hit me in my news feed that basically said that Trump recently met with the head of TikTok or something like that. I don't think TikTok is being banned in a month, but we'll get there.
Even know what questions to ask. And I think there's like a frustration, not with the company, but I think just with the fact that all of these things that are happening, like I have no control over. Be told that you did nothing wrong, that you're a great worker, you can no longer work. It's crazy. You bust your butt on TikTok and create a platform and a community just for it to get banned in the United States. Like the fact that all of this is happening all at once is just like cruel.
Y'all say yes in January?
It's criminal. If you've ever gone through this, you know it is literally the most like devastating feeling, and it feels the worst.
Where are y'all getting this information from?
When there's like no one to blame. At this point, I'm just gonna have to do everything to save every single dollar and try to figure it out. And if you know any remote jobs or any jobs in the Nashville area, people that are hiring, I do sales and marketing. I also have a background in medicine and health, so if you know any connections or any next moves, please let me know. If you're going through this, just know you're not alone. And it's really frustrating, and it's really hard, and you didn't do anything wrong, and you're gonna come out of this.
It's tough out here in these streets. But I think that all of this entitlement, I don't want to go into the office anymore. I don't want to do this. They need to pay me that. All of that is coming to a head. All of that is about to shut down. All of that is coming to a head. And people gonna learn. People are going to learn. They are absolutely they gonna get the hint one way or another. Anyways, so y'all saying where I've been? I'm not really checking for TikTok like that. Y'all haven't been sending me anything in my inbox. I know your car said check my phone, but they haven't been sending me anything in my inbox that says that TikTok is officially being banned. But I'll go back and look. Congress gave TikTok until 1/19 to be sold from Chinese or will be banned. Well, if that be the case, then it looks like all of these short form, fast TikTok creators gonna be having to make another move. What y'all gonna do? I don't know if it's gonna be banned. I don't believe that it's gonna be banned. I don't think that it's going to be banned. I don't. I genuinely don't. But it might be. What y'all gonna do? So if TikTok get banned for all of y'all TikTok content creators, what are y'all gonna do? What platform are y'all gonna move over to? They gonna try to come over to YouTube? Because they don't listen. That little trash content that y'all putting up on TikTok, that don't fly over here. Long form content is different over here than it is over there. They gonna do OF? Molly said y'all gonna do OF. All of that little fluff content over there on TikTok, I knew it was a reason why I wasn't embracing that platform. That ain't gonna fly over here. They gonna do YouTube shorts? Yeah, okay. Good luck with that. Anyways, let's continue on. Baby Joker said these ads is killing me. Well, that's your fault. You being cheap. You should be a premium member. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. I'm gonna push the live stream up to like 1:30 or 2 or something like that. I gotta fully prepare, and then we gonna go from there. All right. Oh, snaps. Let me read these super chats really quickly. Jay Reed 20. Well, what's up, Jay Reed? USA Today or the Today Show show a second grade teacher. Well, I ain't seen nothing, but I'll stay on top of it. Isaiah 3 says, Anton, would you recommend tech or medicine? If you're trying to run up a bag, I'm conflicted between the two and already have my bachelor's. Isaiah, you need to specialize. It does not matter whether you go into tech or you go into healthcare. I would assume that you're saying healthcare, not medicine. You need to specialize. You can't just say tech because tech is very broad. It's a lot of people that say I work in IT and they work in a call center, right? Technology could be a scrum master. It could be a software engineer. It could be a back-end developer. It could be UX UI. It could be project management. It could be a product owner. It could be a lot of different things, right? And then what tech field or what tech industry do you want to be a part of? Do you want to be a tech company? Do you want to take on a traditional legacy company like a bank, or do you want to go into a startup? So there's different ways in which you can mine it. Nothing is wrong with either one, but you have to specialize. I tell people that they need to get into cloud infrastructure, AI, or go into cybersecurity. Those are the most secure fields going forward. All right. That's number one. If you are going to get into healthcare, you need to specialize. I tell people that they need to get into nursing, unless you are actually going to, like, because, for example, you can go into tech inside of the healthcare industry. So it just depends on what you're trying to get into, right? But to say medicine or to say tech, those are too broad. I think that you absolutely positively need to go into and specialize, okay? Specialize in whatever you're going to do. Doesn't matter which one you pick, specialize what you're going to do. Shout out to my dog, Marcus L. Boston, author in the building. Yes, TikTok is being banned in a month, but Trump said he is looking into it because it helped reach voters. I did see Trump talk about that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to understand whether or not it's really going to be banned. I'm not so sure. I don't know if it's going to be banned like that. Marcus, I appreciate you. Thank you for holding me down, big dog. Thank you for supporting the platform. What's your suggestion on being more marketable as a security guard? As a security guard? Are you saying as a personal security? Like starting a security company and then doing personal security, like being a bodyguard type stuff? Or are you talking about like working for allied services or something like that? If you're just working for allied services, I don't really have no advice for you being a security guard. You're just there until you're not. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to get into personal security, I think that there's some licenses that you have to do. I would also say that, a lot of the people that do security for me, they have worked for Farrakhan. They have worked for some tech moguls. They have worked for rappers. They've done a lot of the different things. But I think that you need to go and shadow an actual real security company or try to get involved like that. If you're trying to get into the personal security realm, I think you need to go and shadow. Because one of the things that I require when I go out of town, for example, if I'm going to a place I've never been to, it's a lot of dusty people that be like, oh man, I don't have a car, or we don't offer car services and stuff like that. You got to be full service. Everything got to be full service. We willing to pay a premium for full service. You know what I'm saying? So I think you need to go in shadow if you're trying to get into the security field and the security market. Anyways, listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I think y'all are the greatest audience on the face of the earth. Patreon live stream coming up soon. I'm about to move the time so that I can fully prepare, and we gonna get into it. All right. Death Note says I'm a FANG director of site reliability, cyber and cloud is where the bag is. There you go. They telling you where the bag is, big dog. All right. Listen, and is he talking about security, like tech security? I don't know. Y'all got to be a little bit more specific. Maybe he's talking about cybersecurity. I don't know. Anyways, I will see the people that are in the Patreon and Block Club, and yeah. So I'm gonna talk to y'all later. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. You learned something, Jay? All right, cool. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Peace.